What's up, everybody? Harsh Truth back here, celebrating Pride Month, as you can see by all that rainbow shit that we got in the background. Sitting here with my good friend, Jacob Lee Huff. You can see mine and his Twitter handles in the bottom of the screen, so by all means get a hold of us and tell me how bad this video quality is. But at least I got better audio than the last video I did with Jeremy. Do you see our Avengers Endgame spoiler?
I haven't yet.
Yeah, you can barely hear him, and my voice booms because I didn't have a plug-in for the microphone. I wasn't ready for any of that shit.
I wonder if I need to speak a little louder then.
Nah, just talk.
Okay.
Talk like you're talking to me right now. No big deal. Just don't say half the shit that we usually say, because I'm already having trouble making money on YouTube.
Okay, yeah. Monetization.
Anyway, one of the reasons we're here is because it is Pride Month, and Jacob, my good friend, is a homosexual man. Very good-looking one, I might add.
Thank you, sir.
If I was gay, I'd be all over you,
I'd be
buddy.
the one. Yeah.
You'd be my guy. And I want to talk to him about what it's like to be a gay man in the world today, how it was like to come out, what it's like dealing with people on a daily basis, what it's like dealing with the gay community, what it's like dealing with all of it coming from your perspective.
Yeah.
This whole video is about you.
All about me.
So tell me, where does your story start? Give us a little bit of the bio on Jake.
Okay, well, so I'm 26. I've known pretty much my whole life that I've been gay. I think the first memories I think I have of it were when I was pretty young. I was like 6 years old, first grade. You know, the other boys were giving girls hard times, you know, cooties and all that kind of stuff, and I was doing it to the boys. Yeah, I mean, as I grew up, I kind of realized it as I went, what it meant. Yeah, I mean, it took some time, but I think teenage years is when I really kind of figured it out.
Was there were you always out publicly?
No, I was like, I think I was probably like 12 or 13 when I really knew what it meant to be gay. And then I think, yeah, until I came out when I was 15. So 2 or 3 years, I kind of definitely hid it because I knew. But I'd say before 12, I didn't really know what it meant. So it really wasn't something for me to put out. So.
Now, when you came out, who did you come out to first?
My best friend, Christina. She, I don't know, didn't really freak out, but she was taken aback, of course. So it was her first, and then a couple of my friends, and then it went to my mom and my sisters, and they were all cool about it. So that was good. But
so you haven't faced a lot of blowback from your family and close friends or your circle. They were all
actually,
pretty
I got lucky. Yeah, like the group of people that I had in my life at the time and still now, yeah, they're all accepting. They're all really cool about it. Yeah, generally people just have questions. They don't really, you know, pick at me. They don't, care too much.
One of the things I think that makes it easy to talk to you is that you're just kind of, it's so matter-of-factly whenever we talk about your homosexuality, just you and me in casual conversation. Yeah. It's like, I come up with something, you're just like, here it is, here's the answer. And I think that makes it easier to digest, whereas some people, do you think that some gay men, or even gay women for that matter, when someone tries to ask them a simple question to try to understand things more, do they get offensive? And that kind of maybe strengthens that wall between the gay community and some straight people who don't quite get it?
Yeah, I can see that because... yeah, I feel like a lot of them are maybe like it's still raw, like it's still fresh that they came out, or they still, you know, get shit for it all the time or something. So they they kind of like are on the defensive when people ask about it. But I don't know, I think that line is blurring. I think it's getting better over time. I don't think, it's not really a thing anymore, at least in my experience. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember back because I'm in my early 40s. I remember back when AIDS was still becoming the thing, and they thought it was just the homosexual disease, and they didn't quite. I think AIDS, I guess if there's a silver lining to that cloud at all, it's that people started to not just study homosexuality, study it as if it were some kind of a disease or mental disorder or something, but they just started to examine it more, and they were like, wait a minute. I think that was one of the things that kind of helped people understand homosexuality, and they were like, well, it's not a gay disease after, you know, they finally put some research into it through the 80s into the 90s.
Yeah.
It's just a thing. And then the homosexuals became people as opposed to just this weird subsection of society that people just kind of were like, I'm never going to understand them, so I'm not going to try. Yeah. So I always thought that there was a silver lining to the whole AIDS epidemic. That was probably it.
Yeah.
People, you know, finally were just like, whoa, wait a minute. They're not weirdos that carry this weirdness. They're just people who just happen to be the ones that fell kind of into the trap of homosexuality.
Yeah.
or a trap of AIDS rather, not homosexuality. I like completely misspeak. I'm probably gonna have people sending shit on my way on Twitter after that. But I had put some questions out there in a Facebook group that I'm on.
Okay.
I had put a thing for questions out, and people shot me some questions. I want to run through a few of them with you. Kim Rose via Pi, and I hope I pronounced that right. She rattled off 4 questions in quick succession. The first one says, "Is there any point in time where you wish you were straight?"
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. When I first figuring it out, and then once I'd known, and even after when I came out, like I still like it was something I didn't, want everybody to know. It's not like that was the first thing I said when I like introduced myself to people was, "Hi, I'm Jacob, I'm gay," and like it was something I kind of kept to the side. I still kind of do today. A lot of people don't find out until later that I'm gay.
See, when me and you first started hanging out, I just thought you were kind of meterosexual. Yeah, I mean, you've had this conversation casually. It's like it's so hard. Like I said, back when I was a teenager in the 80s and into the 90s, there was a pretty clear distinction between who was gay and who was straight. There was something in the voice. There was something in the way people carried themselves that made it kind of obvious.
Very clear.
But then having the feminine qualities became kind of a thing with guys. And then guys moisturizing and doing their hair a certain way and wearing the right clothes and grooming. You're like, wait a minute, you're not gay, but you do all these things that are very feminine. And so that's why it's really blurred the line. It's not so easy to tell anymore, especially because you have so many gay men out there that are they seriously don't carry any of those stereotype behavioral things. Very masculine. Go to the gym, work out. Some bodybuilders, even guys that are really cut huge, you would be shocked to find out they're actually gay. Next question she asked was, from a straight people's point of view, what world is more accepting and tolerable towards being gay today? Or the world is more accepting and tolerable towards being gay today. Do you feel the same, or do you feel it could be much better from your experience?
That the straight community is better about it?
Yes. From a straight people's point of view, the world is more accepting and tolerable towards being gay. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think in general, like, there's still, there's always going to be those people that are, just hate, or whatever. But I think, in general, it's much better. It's easier to come out. You see that kind of stuff all the time on TV and movies and stuff. There's much more representation. I think it's gotten a lot easier. Also, just because of nowadays social media and things like that kind of publicize things like that. You see it a lot more, so it's easier for people to do that. Like, they see the other people doing it all the time. So it's not like it's some big deal as much anymore, because they see other people do it and they know they can do it too. So
I've always thought that ways of thinking like that are generational, and I try to point this out to people who are talking about when they talk about racism. I was like, it's not just something. I mean, things like that festered for literally 100 years. Yeah. It's not just going to disappear because you passed a couple of laws. No. There's a whole generation and even pockets of people that they have to. It's going to take a couple of generations of people in that family to finally realize that that's not cool.
Yes.
Because I have a lot of family in the South, and my grandfather, who I never really knew, my mom's dad, who the family cut off a long time ago, he was actually involved in the KKK.
Okay.
But nobody in my family is racist to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, he was extremely racist and even had a hand in doing horrible things to people back in the, you want to say, like 30s and 40s. But yeah, none of my family is like that. And they cut him loose because generationally, we figured, as my cousins and my older aunts and uncles and things like that, they realized that wasn't an appropriate way to think, and that everything they understood was wrong, so they changed their way of thinking. But there are still pockets of people here and there that need to get that out of their system. And as their kids get older and they're like, wait a minute, this way of thinking is kind of outdated and old and was just plain wrong back then, but nobody realized it, I'm going to think differently. And I think homosexuality is the same thing. It's like I said, when I was a teenager back in the 80s, we had all these wrong misconceptions, AIDS, and so on and so on and so on. And as we've educated ourselves on so many things, it's going to take a generation or so for people to grow up in this era where homosexuality is just fine. It's no different than any guy walking in the street, gay, straight, whatever. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. So I think generationally, it's just like I said, 30 years from now. I mean, even now in society, it's kind of odd sometimes. I remember when Ellen DeGeneres came out, it was like big news. Okay. When she came out publicly on TV and everything, it was big news. Nowadays, it's like every 15 minutes there's some celebrity coming out as gay or bi. Yep. And it's like page 7 of the style section.
I was going to say they get it for like a day, it's a thing, and then it blows over.
Or when people, just in your personal life come out, most people are just kind of like, whatever.
Cool.
Okay, that's neat to know.
Or
this is not a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
So that's how I know it's becoming more socially acceptable.
Yeah.
That when someone does come forward and say, okay, this is how I feel in my life.
It's like there's less of a reaction.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Next question she asks. What do you think about the existence of gay bars in some parts of the world? Do you feel it helps in some way, or does it just add to the continuation of abnormalizing being gay, and that it points out being different?
That's a good question. I can see both sides of it. I do think it's a good thing because I'm, at least in my experience, I'm more of a masculine gay man, obviously. So to find other gay men, it would be hard for me just hard to find a gay man if he is masculine because you can't really tell. So if you were to go to a gay bar, obviously you're going to find, more people from your community. Because it can be hard to, try to find somebody, try to hit on people, if you're not sure if they're gay. So I think that's a huge a plus for gay bars. But I see the other side too. I can see how it's kind of like, like, why does it have to be a gay bar? Why can't it just be a bar? But I think, just the fact that it pulls the community together and it makes it easier for us to find each other. And especially also, if everybody in the bar is gay, then, everybody's kind of comfortable with each other. We all know who we are kind of in a way. So it makes it, just easier on us. I
guess you'd have to assume that if you even walk in the door of a place that there's a known gay bar, that you already understand that that's the atmosphere.
Yes, exactly.
So if you walk into a regular bar and some guy hits on you, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know it was one of those kinds of bars.
Right.
But if you walk into, a known
know what to expect.
gay bar, then you understand what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Another thing I've noticed is that gay bars are really popular with women.
Oh yeah, well, and even straight men too. Well, maybe straight men too. Because
I've been to a couple.
Because like if all the women go there, the straight men kind of follow. But
my sister used to work with a guy years ago who did drag shows.
Okay.
And we went to one night. It was fun.
Yeah.
I was married at the time, and I kept my wife kind of close because I was like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
My first time going to one of these places, so I'm kind of like, I'm just gonna kind of sit here and drink and just watch, just see what goes on.
Watch.
But I had a lot of fun. It was a different time. It wasn't just like going to some regular bar and playing loud music and drinking and doing what we usually do. It was kind of an interesting thing. I haven't had an occasion to go back. I haven't really had a desire, but neither an aversion, just other things to do in life. But it's really popular amongst women.
Yeah.
Women love gay guys.
Yep.
Ironically enough. The next question that she asked, the final one, I think she asked another one later on. This is the final one for this long post she put in, is do you think a lot of people are just pretending to accept gay people considering endless public harassment the gay people are facing today?
I'm sure there are people, that do that. I'm sure some people don't want to voice their opinions on it because they know they would get backlash. But, even if that's the case, I think that's still a good thing because at least they're not putting the hate out. At least they're not saying anything negative about it. They're just, if they have their beliefs about it, whatever they may believe, at least they would be keeping it to themselves. But, I definitely think there are people out there that probably.
Some of the circles I run in take me across from religious people. And most of the religious people I know are kind of like, hate the sin, but be okay with the sinner.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, that's not my thing, but you're a cool person and you do what you do. It's not affecting me. Right. So find your happiness. I'm going to go find mine somewhere else. And as long as you're not, walking into their church with your gay boyfriend.
Right. On your,
that they're kind of,
yeah.
But even churches have become more and more accepting. Yeah. You've got some stories popping up online about gay ministers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that's just another sign as to how everything is kind of coming into place where homosexuality is being more accepted.
Yeah.
Because once the religious community, as uptight as they can be, starts to be more accepting about a certain group of people, that's when it's just kind of the domino effect. Everything kind of comes down.
It's going the right
way. James Edward Luke asked, how did his parents, friends, and other family members feel about it?
Like I said earlier, for the most part, everybody was really cool. As in terms of just like people that I have close to me, everybody really has been great about it. Nobody's, judged me for it. Nobody's, said anything bad about it. I've had a couple people say that they don't understand it, which I can understand, that, they don't understand why I'm gay or how or what happened that made me gay or something like that. But, I think in general,
I always tell people when it comes to any decision that I make in life about myself, one way or the other, it's not about how you feel about it. It's about how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you choose to accept or not is up to you.
Yep.
You can have your feelings about whatever I do, but choosing to accept it and move forward is really all on you.
Have to accept it.
Hannah Strayhorn asked, did his relationship with his parents change after he came out? If so, how?
Actually, not really at all. Like, I mean, my mom knows, of course. She was one of the ones that said she didn't really understand it. But I mean, over the years, she's seen that it's not like a phase. She understands that it's just who I am. It's just I'm just attracted to different people. So I don't think. What was the question? I just kind of went off on like.
How did your relationship with your parents change and how?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, didn't really change at all. Basically, stay the same. We're just as close as we ever were. Like, yeah, no difference really.
People have asked me before, like some of the religious people that have a tough time processing the fact that I'm actually, for the LGBT community as a whole. They say, how can you support or what would you do if when your son or daughter came home and said I was gay? I'm like, well, here's the deal. I, like every father, I have this perfect vision in my head of my daughter marrying Prince Charming.
Right,
he takes her to the castle of the clouds, spoils her rotten for the rest of her life.
The grandchildren.
If it's Princess Charming, that works too.
Right. Yeah.
Because my vision of my kids' happiness doesn't have to be exactly what happens. As long as my kids are happy, that's the end result.
That's the key. I was going to say, it doesn't really matter who makes them happy, just as long as they are happy.
Like I said, my personal desire of exactly what I want to see is not as important as the end result.
Yes.
And if my daughter ends up a productive member of society, or one of my sons ends up a productive member of society, has a good job, takes care of themselves, and is gay, then fine by me.
Yep.
Because the alternative is they could be straight but be meth heads.
Right, exactly.
It's like, what would you rather? Would you have a straight meth head kid or a gay college graduate who's making six figures a year and is totally happy in life and gets to take a vacation to Europe once a year?
Yeah.
Okay, give me the gay kid. Because I want the happiness. I want the long, healthy, happy life.
Yeah.
And even grandkids can work itself out.
Yeah, I mean, adoption. Yeah,
I'm all for. I totally support gay adoption.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things that I clash with a lot of my conservative friends on. Is some of my conservative friends, especially the religious ones, are like, oh well, we don't know if we want gay couples adopting kids. I'm like, well, you go on and on bitching about two-parent households. I was like, so you've got a couple made up of two men who are well-adjusted, have jobs, and have their shit together, or two women who are well-adjusted, have good jobs, and their shit together. You have two good parents. Doesn't really matter what sex they are.
Exactly.
I was like, you can't have it both ways, so stop trying to have it both ways.
Yep.
If you want to solve some of the other problems that lay on the periphery and other issues, then this two-parent household is one of the things you say is supposed to do it. So let's push that and maybe put the other thing aside.
Yeah.
That always made more sense to me. But I clash with Republicans on a lot of shit, despite the fact that I'm a conservative.
Yeah.
Rhonda Samia asks, how old was he when he came out? How did he know he was gay? How does he deal with homophobia and ignorant people?
Okay. I was 15 when I came out. What was the second question?
Second one was, how did he know he was gay?
How did I know? So yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I knew, like looking back, I know now, of course, but I knew that I liked boys and gave boys a hard time. I was always, picking on boys instead of the girls. I was usually friends with females more than the males, at least when I was younger. I think, I mean, as I grew up, like maybe around 10 or 11, I kind of started realizing it. Like I knew I was attracted to boys, but I still, saw the other boys in my classes having girlfriends, so I got a girlfriend. And then I think in middle school is really where I knew, like, because of course, puberty and all that stuff happens. And like I really knew. That's when I knew. And I was 12 or 13 at that point. So it was a couple years later that I came out when I was 15. What was the third question?
The third one was, how do you deal with homophobia and ignorant people?
Usually just ignore it. I don't entertain it. I don't respond to it because I know straight, like if they're already just out of the gate being homophobic or hateful, then I know there's really no getting through to them. I'm not going to change their mind. So I usually just ignore it. If it comes to other people, dealing with it and I see it, I'd probably step in and say something. But yeah, at least for myself, like it really doesn't bother me so much as it used to, just because I know it's usually coming from a place of ignorance. So I just kind of ignore it. It doesn't faze me. Just let it roll off my back. But
I can tell you guys right now, I've been to the shooting range with Jake, and if you want to pick on him, he's a fairly easy shot. Just remember that. He's not a sniper or anything, but 10 to 15 feet, the average length of a self-defense situation. Yeah, I got my money on Jake. Dar Ryan asks, when did he realize he was attracted to other guys? Did he tell anyone when he was young, and how did they react? When he was young, did he ever wonder when he would stop being attracted to guys and start being attracted to girls?
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, same as the last question. Like, yeah, I knew growing up, and then it got to a certain point where I knew for sure, and I hit it and came out. What was the second part?
Did you tell anybody when you were young?
Yes, actually, I remember this was before I really knew. I think it was 7 or 8. It was back in like late 90s, early 2000s when NSYNC was like huge still.
I unfortunately have good memories of those times. not good memories of the boy bands, but memories of those times.
But yeah, so they were still big, and all the boy bands, but NSYNC in particular, like I remember like being obsessed with them. I thought they were all so cute. And I remember I had a magazine, and I would like put hearts around their faces and stuff like that. And I think my older sister found it. I don't think she said anything to my mom, but I guess maybe I thought she did, because I went to my mom and I told her that I thought NSYNC was cute. And I don't honestly remember what she said, but yeah, I remember telling her that when I was super young. After that, I really don't remember mentioning it ever again, really, until I was older. Yeah, just one of those like one-off moments where I just kind of threw it out there, I guess. I don't know.
I have the perfect heterosexual answer when someone says, "Do you think that guy is good looking?" I would say, I can see why people would find him attractive.
Yeah, you can see why. Yes.
I can see why.
Yeah.
I have trouble reading this name, so forgive me if I butcher it. Asaki Omid asks a question that it seems really corny, but I think it's a different answer for everybody else. Why are you gay? It's such a straightforward question with such a simple answer of, well, because I like guys. But I think it can be different for other people, because I used to work with a girl a long time ago who was becoming lesbian, and I learned through other people that she had gotten stood up at her senior prom. Now, and that blew me away, because this girl was gorgeous. She was insanely smart. I don't know if she was valedictorian, but she was like straight A's across the board, from what I heard. Was going to the University of Dayton to take not law, I forget what it was, but it was something way above anything that I thought I would ever do. And I was like, what guy would stand her up? And I think that it's different for some people. Some people, it's because some women, especially, they were wronged by a man.
Yeah.
For some people, it's a byproduct of like sexual abuse when they were young.
Yeah.
For some people, it's just something that happens. Why are you gay?
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, for me at least, it's honestly just I'm attracted to men, and that's just how it is. But I think it is interesting because for me, like, it wasn't a choice for me. I just kind of, realized it as I grew up. There was no like certain point where I like sat down and thought like, do I want to be gay or straight, like women or men? It was always no question in my mind. It was men. But it's really interesting because it's strange for me to think that some people can do that. Like they can transition from one to the other, or they can, kind of just like switch off men to go to women, or vice versa. Yeah, I've always thought that was really interesting because it used to kind of, when I was younger, like upset me when people would talk about that, like going gay. Because I was like, you can't do that. You can't just change. But I mean,
I think sometimes you can. I think as you get older and your brain starts to develop different whatever. I mean, I'm not a doctor or neurologist, so I have no idea what the exact term is. But it's like, when I was young, I didn't like black olives. Now I can eat black olives by the handful. I do think maybe sometimes you get to a point where you get to be 13, 14, 15, and you've always been heterosexual, and then but you meet that one person, that one guy. There's a little gnat right here for some reason. You meet that one guy, and then all of a sudden it just kind of hits you. You're like, ooh, wait a minute. There's a feeling there that is usually only been there for women.
Reserved for women, yeah.
Or maybe sometimes it is a traumatic event. Maybe like we talked about, or maybe not even a negative traumatic event. Maybe just any big event that imprints itself on you.
Yeah, that kind
car accident, anything. I mean, any big event that really attaches itself to your mind can kind of change the way people's brain chemistry works.
Yeah,
and the way things are wired upstairs, and maybe sometimes that's the change.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just strange to me, but I mean, as I've gotten older, I've accepted that some people can do that change or switch, or they realize later on in their life that they had that in them and they didn't pursue it, or they just kind of, brush it under the rug until later. But
well, another thing I notice is you'll have some like women especially. I've heard of it happening with guys, but women especially, they get in their 50s and 60s, and maybe their longtime husband had died, and then they find this woman that they're friends with, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm in love with this woman now.
Yeah.
And that's the one where I'm kind of like, well, usually that kind of weird sudden transition happens when you're younger, but I know there's a lot of body chemistry stuff that happens as you start to transition in your elderly years too. Yeah. And maybe that kind of thing switches over. And the loss of a spouse or a loved one can be exactly the kind of event that really shocks your system just as well as anything that can happen when you're young.
Yeah.
So that's just another thing. It's like, well, it's odd to find, for two elderly people to find each other the same sex and then suddenly be in love at the same time. Like, well, whatever. Again, tell you before he came out.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, the point before he came out that, like I was afraid to tell people. I didn't know exactly how to tell them. I didn't know who to tell first. I mean, I sat there with it for like a good 2 or 3 years before I finally decided to do it. Actually, when I did come out, I didn't come out as just gay. I told my best friend Christina that I was bisexual, just because I kind of wanted to like lessen the blow of telling her, like,
give it to her by
telling her, exactly, like give it a little bit at first, so that she kind of got used to it, and then just later on I was like, well, actually, I'm just gay.
Christina Rollins asks, has he ever encountered so much hate or bullying he contemplated suicide? Does he have a loving support system, and did any friends or family disown him?
Okay. No, never disowned by anybody. The bullying, no, I never really got bullied. I got really lucky in high school. Nobody gave me any crap for it. In general, people, they were either accepting or, I mean, even if they weren't, they kept to themselves. They didn't really, bother me with it. I got really lucky in that regard. And definitely not disowned by anybody. If anything, like if there were people in my life that didn't accept it or didn't like it, I just kind of distanced myself from them. So kept that out of my life.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school back in the early mid-90s, I graduated in 96, there was some homosexual people, men and women, guys and girls in school. And even at that point in the early mid-90s, there was this pretty high level of acceptance compared to what there was only 6-8 years earlier in the 80s when I was a kid growing up in California. And even as I grew up in California, which is one of the most liberal, most socially accepting places in the world, there was still kind of this standoffishness. And people weren't being overtly assholish towards homosexuals, but they didn't quite get it yet.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think when California finally got it, they were like, oh, okay, well, because they're also worldly and open-minded in California for everything, except conservatives. I think it kind of started there and has filtered its way to places like where we live here in Ohio.
Yeah.
But also because we, in this particular area where we live, attract so many people from out of state.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's because it's helped this area become as accepting a lot more quicker.
Yeah.
But like I said, even in high school in the early mid-90s, it didn't seem like it was that big a deal amongst me and my people. Because I had a couple of gay friends. I actually played baseball with a gay kid when I was in junior high. He was openly gay.
Okay.
And he was not flaming, not overly flamboyant, but he was very carefree and just didn't give a shit if anybody knew about him.
Okay.
A good ball player. I'd play ball with him all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And we even shared a locker room.
Yeah.
And there was a couple for the first little bit, the first start of the season that we both played school ball together. It was kind of like.
I mean, I could understand that.
And then after a while, it just became a locker room environment
like
any other. Exactly. And there was a lot of stupid jokes that went between teenagers in the locker room. He played along and had fun, and he was one of the cool guys. I actually talked to him 4 or 5 years ago when I went home to California to visit. I ran into him. Still gay.
Yeah, well, of course.
He was actually married.
Well, maybe not necessarily.
He was actually married. And he said he was very happy. He actually lives in San Francisco now, but he was in where I grew up in Santa Cruz, California, visiting some old friends of ours, people that he'd known from back in the day. And we talked for a few minutes and bullshitted. And he was still kind of the same goofy kid.
Yeah.
Still a little limp in the wrist, still kind of obvious, but the same guy, just older and some gray hair. And I thought that was really cool. Let's see. Joshua Bennett asks, and I know you're not the movie head that I am, so I don't know if you've seen this or not. He says, I want to know if you've seen the film Love, Simon, and if he believes the modern societies are accepting homosexuals to an extent that it's not a big deal coming out anymore.
I don't believe I've seen that movie.
I've heard about it. I've heard it's gotten some good reviews. I haven't gotten around to seeing it yet.
I think that's pretty recent, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty recent.
I think it came out just over the winter.
Okay. And then what was the question though?
Do you believe that modern societies are accepting homosexuals to an extent and it's not a big deal coming out anymore?
Yeah, totally. Like it's gotten so much easier, with the representation on, TV, movies, like even books, so many people are endorsing it. There's so, pride events are everywhere, of course, and they're only getting bigger, more media attention. So yeah, I think it's a lot easier. It's even, I don't think kids necessarily know earlier that they're gay, but I think they come out earlier now because they realize it and they see everybody else kind of doing it. So
I would think at the very least they are less apprehensive about at least exploring it and trying to understand it themselves.
Yeah.
Because I totally understand why people stay in the closet for a while because the first person that has to understand it all is you.
Yeah.
Before you even try to explain it to everybody else, it's got to be good in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that young people today are probably examining themselves a little more, which I think is a good thing at a lot of different levels. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we talked about earlier, it's like, 20 years ago, if you'd have come out especially as a celebrity, it would have been front page news across every, rag in Hollywood.
For weeks.
Yeah, nowadays, celebrity comes out and it's page 6 of the style section. Yeah. And it gets a paragraph that's like this long. It's just not news anymore.
Yep.
Unless it's like a really, really big name and it kind of shocks people. If Brad Pitt comes out as gay, I think the entire world's going to stop for about 3 or 4 days. J. D'Ambrose Rail asks, with everything going on, are you afraid for your safety due to your orientation?
In general, no. But I guess it just really depends on where you are. I know there's definitely certain parts of the world, even here, in Ohio, even parts of, where we're from, I'm sure, in Dayton that have, there's neighborhoods that, aren't accepting of it, or those groups of people that aren't accepting. But no, I think in general, yeah, it's not a thing. I don't know. Yeah.
Eric Mendoza asks, is being gay a choice? Also, how did you find out you were gay?
Well, so yeah, like we were talking about earlier, for me, it's not a choice. I was just, I realized it over time, from the time I was a kid to now. But I think I've become more accepting of it myself that it could be a choice because, you hear the stories about people being married for however many years or being straight or even gay for however many years and they, flip sides, they try it and they realize they do like it or they, they had it in them all along and they kind of realize it over time like me, but it just happens at a later point in their life or something. But yeah, I definitely think it could be a choice, I guess. For me, I don't like using that because then it makes me feel like people are gonna, be like, well, why did you choose it then? Why would you want that?
I think you choose to act or not act on urges.
Oh,
it's not that all urges are bad or good, one or the other. I don't think it's that simple. I think that you can choose to say, well, I'm attracted to men, but my family has expectations, so I'm going to keep going out with women. Or you can choose to suppress those feelings.
Yeah.
That's generally unhealthy.
Yes.
And I'm sure there have been guys that have gone their whole lives and have suppressed homosexual feelings and gotten married, had kids, all because they didn't think that the people around them in their circle were going to be accepting, were going to be, weren't going to be completely blown away by it and have their own, realities in their heads blown out.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people that do that. I think it's unhealthy. I think it's unfair to the individual.
Yeah, really unfortunate.
Like I said, if it comes down to my kids, I'd rather my kids be honest with me and say, Dad, I'm gay.
Right.
Instead of constantly having to worry about, oh my God, is he going to find out? What's he going to do when he finds out? Well, the honesty is the easiest part.
Yes.
Break my heart now for, years of honesty in the future.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the choice, fine. Break my heart now because, like I said, the happiness of the people that I care about is more important than my personal vision of what I think their happiness should be or what I'd like to see from them. Austin Chavez writes, does he remember the exact moment in his life when he told his best friend and was said best friend accepting? And he's one of the people that said out loud he wants to make sure I put this video out there so you can look at it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I told my best friend when I was 13. It was in school. I remember I went up to her locker and kind of like whispered it in her ear between classes. And at first she was shocked. She's taken aback. She was like, not that it was negative, her reaction, but it was just, it was kind of like, neutral, I guess. She just didn't really know what to think, I guess, since she had seen me as straight, I guess, the entire time that we'd known each other. But yeah, no, she was very accepting. She was, super proud and happy for me. She's actually, it's like she loves me more because I'm gay than if I were straight, because it's, yeah, just something that now that I'm open and free about it, like she's just, yeah, she feels really strongly.
I think even when you see something coming, the moment that it actually drops can still kind of
still can be a
shock.
It
can still be a bit of a shock, and I would imagine it was probably the same thing for her. Do you think she saw it coming? Did she have any prior conceptions about what you were going to say, or if you were going to say it at all?
Yeah, because it was like literally I don't even know what like spurred me to say it, but yeah, we were just in class. I don't remember exactly how I told her, but yeah, I just told her I was bi. Yeah, she took it really well.
You still talk to this girl at all?
Yeah, we're still really close, really good friends. We don't talk as much as we used to, but we still, catch up every once in a while.
Well, that's good because she's like ground zero for you coming out. That's an important person to keep around. Yeah.
There's only one first person.
Let's see. I sent you this. Do you remember me sending you this link? This is the guy that sent me the link about the gay voice.
The gay voice. Yeah.
What does he think about the University of Toronto's study in men having the gay voice? Also, does he feel that he has it, and why does he think it occurs?
I mean, that's a good question. I sometimes I think it's just actually the voice, their natural voice. I don't think a lot of the time they do it intentionally. I think it's just they speak how they comfortably want to speak. I think sometimes it can be like something that people used to put on a show kind of, or to at least make it more known that they're gay, so it's more visible to people. They can see it more obviously. I don't know if I think that it's just a gay thing though, because even there's been straight men that I've met that have had like way more feminine voices than any gay
man
I've met.
So we were talking earlier about the metrosexual thing.
Yes, exactly.
It's like I know a lot of guys that you would just, if you talk to him for 3 minutes, you're like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely gay, and then you find out that he's got a gorgeous girlfriend who loves him because he's into moisturizing and knows how to do his hair just right and perfectly trims his little bit of beard or whatever, and it's like, wow, okay, whatever. I think it's kind of a community thing. I think there was, because you know how, and I get this a lot when I go home to California to visit. People will tell me that I've picked up some of the southern drawl, and I want to bang my head against the table every time I hear somebody say that, because I don't hear it, but it's probably happening. It's like if you go live in like England for 3 or 4 years,
right,
you'll come back and you'll pick up some of the dialect and not know it. You'll pick up little terms and words and not know it. And I think that there was probably a group of guys in the gay community back when the gay community was first forming back in probably the 70s.
Yeah.
And it kind of became this thing. And as can be expected early on, as the community was getting together, they were kind of hanging out in their own little bubble.
Yeah.
And it kind of had that effect. You were just hanging out with a bunch of gay guys, so it all kind of picked up this way of talking.
Kind of, yeah.
But like I said, as it's gotten more socially acceptable, as this community has spread out more and has gotten into other places, and more people who aren't gay are getting into the gay community, more people who are gay are getting out of it, getting involved in other things, that maybe it's just kind of not becoming such a gay thing anymore to have this way of speaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it was something like that. I just think it was how it started out in the community in the 70s, probably even in the 60s.
Yeah.
Who really knows how far back the gay movement goes?
I could see that because, I mean, it makes sense. You could use it, like I said earlier, like in a group setting, like you could use it to like make other people know, if they hear the gay voice, they're going to know that you're gay. But also, just as an identifier to other gay people, like it would be something to let other people know I'm gay. You can hit on me, whatever.
This person's going international. Elaine Opilis asks, what's his stand or opinion for countries where same-sex marriage is not legal?
I mean, I'm not a fan of it, obviously. I think it's something, over time, hopefully it changes. I realize a lot of these places, they operate under very different religions, and a lot of their views aren't, up to date, I guess you would say, with more modern countries. But I mean, I think it's horrible that people are treated that way, that they're still harassed, beaten, killed, for that kind of thing. But and it makes me sad. But I'm hopeful that the trends that are happening in most of the world, continue, and they happen there too eventually.
I think it speaks a lot to the separation of church and state that we have here in the U.S. Not to get too overly political on the whole thing, because I know that you're not really into the politics of being gay, Defensive Marriage Act and all that, but you see a lot of these countries, especially in the Middle East, they're countries that are run by their religious beliefs.
Yeah.
Their politics and everything are governed by their religious beliefs.
Yeah.
And so you have countries. It was like it was not too long ago in Egypt. There was like video that was on the news for a while. They were taking people who they had found out to be gay and taking them on top of a roof and throwing them off the building.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, I mean it's stuff like that. Whereas if you had that separation between the church and your political structure, that kind of thing would not be allowed.
Yes.
And that's why there's a movie that I love with Joan Allen called The Contender, where she plays a person who is nominated to assume the vice presidency after the vice president of the United States dies. Okay. And she says something in that movie about separation between church and state. She said the separation exists not to protect religion from government, but to protect government from the grasp of religious fanaticism. And I thought that was spot on because of the Middle East. And you see that over the Middle East, they've been fighting each other over God knows what for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And they are largely run by their religious beliefs in our political system, whereas over here we don't do that because we've kept that separation, that fence between the law and personal convictions based on religion. And that's why we don't fight over some of that crap, is because there is a certain amount of separation. Yeah. And I've said it 100 times, not to go down the political bend too much again, but that's part of the problem with the Republican Party, is being overrun by the religious right. Yeah. There needs to be some center in both parties. There needs to be some people that aren't afraid to break and say, hey, like me. Like, my dad's super religious. And he's not unaccepting of homosexuality. It's not his thing. Yeah. He doesn't intentionally. I mean, I think he's got one or two gay friends, but they just don't. They're friendly, but they don't hang out that much. They're not that kind of close friends. But I've had arguments with my dad. I'm like, you've got to get with the times, understand that sometimes your religion has had it wrong for 1,000 years. Yep. That's the way that goes.
It's okay to admit that,
and it's okay to figure. And it's okay to evolve, because I think to a point religion has to evolve too.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Sandra Bache just sends her support. She says, I don't have a question, just tons of support. Sorry to see so many homophobic comments. They weren't necessarily homophobic. I just think they were dumb. Yeah. There were people who were trying to be funny. Or just, it was like nobody coming out and saying, why are you talking to this fag? Nothing like that. It was just people trying to be kooky. Yeah. Patrick McLeod Cullen, same thing, no questions, just support and solidarity. Let's see. Nefi San Brito. Man, I'm butchering a lot of names, and I apologize. Does he speak out or boycott large companies that try to profit off the LGBT community, like companies that plaster the flag on their logo but provide very little support and all, just screaming Happy Pride Month?
I mean,
it's called virtue signaling.
I'm not even sure about which companies or which when it comes to that kind of thing.
I think it's pretty much all of them. I think every Pride Month, every company's like, hey,
they try to
rainbow flag, come buy our stuff.
Yes,
and it's not really genuine.
I mean, if it's for that reason, then it's kind of gross to take advantage of that and use something like that, because that's huge for a lot of people to use that to bring in sales. But I mean, at least the ones that are genuine about it, I think it's great that they're putting it out there. As far as companies that don't support it, again, I'm not even sure. I'd have to look at a list of companies that do or don't support LGBT, but I think, even the ones that wouldn't support it, depending on what it is, honestly, I'd probably still shop there or eat there or whatever it is.
There's Chick-fil-A is the one that...
Right, exactly.
I never understood why everybody was so pissed at Chick-fil-A, because the guy that owns Chick-fil-A is a really religious guy, and they close on Sundays and all. Yeah. He was just like, I don't agree with homosexuality. Yeah. He wasn't even like, I refuse to serve any gays.
Right, exactly.
They have gays that work for Chick-fil-A. Yeah. He was just like, I'm a religious guy. I don't believe in homosexuality. And they try to beat his ass. And I'm like, you're getting on this guy for being honest. He wasn't even saying there's anything wrong with homosexuals. He's just saying that he doesn't agree with homosexuality because of his beliefs. And that was it. And they went nuts. And I'm like, is honesty that bad?
Yeah, I was going to say that's kind of wrong.
He's not deriding homosexuals. He's not saying that he doesn't support even. Yeah. I was like, he's just saying that he has a religious belief that doesn't allow him to appreciate homosexuality. And that's fine. I never understood why honesty is the bad thing.
Yeah. Well, it's just like any other kind of thing. If you don't like somebody's choice, you don't have to like it, but you should support them. If it's somebody you love, if it's a friend or family, you shouldn't give them hell about it because of it. You don't have to agree with it, but still support them. So.
See, Christy Brown asked, does he think homosexual men and homosexual women face the same issues and stigmas?
I think some things are probably the same. Just as far as just baseline kind of, is it a choice or not, or how did you know, and that kind of thing, how it happens. But specific things, yeah, definitely very different. I actually read something or watched something recently about gay men in particular being predatory and kind of manipulating other men into trying things with them. And I think that's definitely a stereotype. Of course, it's not something that's going to be true for every gay man.
I've actually heard quite the opposite. Some of the gay women I know have flat out said that lesbian women can be ruthless whenever they will absolutely steal a woman away from another woman. And I've heard this directly from gay women, from lesbians, that they can be fucking ruthless sometimes. And I've never really gotten that from most gay men.
Yeah,
the reality is men are men. Men are gonna act like assholes sometimes anyway, whether they're gay or straight or whatever. I think that's kind of ingrained in the masculinity part of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard and seen that gay women can be downright ruthless when it comes to breaking up relationships because they want to date one of these women.
Yeah. And
I've had women admit to that openly. It's really weird.
No, it's kind of that's kind of similar with the gay men too, but I think I don't want to say that gay men have it worse, but I just feel like gay men at least are more attacked for it, just because I think masculinity is such a valued thing, I guess, for men to possess, that if you don't, then you're kind of attacked for it just for that, not even necessarily because you're gay, but just because you're more feminine.
As far back as I can remember, even into the 80s, as the homosexual thing was really starting to come to the forefront, gay women have always been more easily accepted than gay men.
Yeah.
I think now that holds true, though not as much. But even back when I was in my mid-teens and getting into my 20s, if a woman came out as gay, then it was a guy comes out as gay, and it was holy shit, the whole world's got to stop while I try to figure this out. And it's just I don't get the difference. The difference is they watch a different kind of porn. That's the only real difference. I mean, if you think about it, it just didn't make much sense to me. Jarek Lago asked a question. This is the one that we were talking about. It's a bit personal.
Okay. I know where this is going.
I'll put it out there if you want to answer it.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he bottom, top, or verse, and why? Who decides who's the mommy or the daddy when it comes to his relationships? God,
that's a great question.
I feel horrible just asking that question, even though I cleared it with you ahead of time.
No, yeah. Well, so most of the, I guess I would have to say I'm verse, meaning that I go top or bottom, but typically I'm top. Most of the time I'm top. You gotta keep your partner happy too. But
is it how do I ask this without sounding like an idiot or completely uninformed? Is it? I don't know how gay relationships work as far as this is concerned. Is there a masculine and a feminine part of the relationship?
That's what I was going to say.
Because I know that some relationships it's even gay men still want to be manly and have a more feminine partner, or maybe vice versa, or some want to be the feminine and have their boyfriend be the masculine. Right. Sometimes it's the same thing attracts one another. I don't really know how it works. So let's just go into your relationship. How does it work?
I think it could be, I'm sure absolutely in some cases there's definitely, and I'm 100% sure, but yeah, the more masculine man and the more feminine man or woman. But yeah, I think in general it's, I don't know. I don't think it's really, what am I trying to say? What was the question again?
Just say it.
How does that even fucking
I don't know.
Top, bottom, reversal, and what was the second part?
Well, and why? And who decides who's the mommy or the daddy when it comes to the relationship?
Yeah. I don't really think it's something that you sit down and talk about either. It's just kind of
it just happens.
It just happens.
It happens
one
naturally.
is either the more dominant or submissive one, but yeah, I think in gay relationships, it's not. It's funny because people always ask, who's the man or the woman in the relationship, but sometimes it could happen that way, but at least in my experience, when I'm with a man, we're both the man in the relationship. We're both masculine.
I think it depends on just what you're looking for in personality rather than the sex of your partner.
That's true too.
Because I have a couple of good friends of mine when they got married. She was definitely the one who wore the pants in the family.
Yeah.
And he was definitely the one that was yes ma'am, no ma'am.
Yeah.
And you would think that it would be a little more reversed, but she was so very forceful, not masculine, but forceful, authoritative, and he was a lot more laid back, and he was okay with being the one that was directed by his woman.
Yeah.
And she wanted to be the one directing everything, and it worked out great for them. So normally I would look at a relationship like that, gay or straight, just be like, oh, no, it's entirely healthy, but it worked for them for a long, long time.
Yeah.
They ended up getting divorced, and she ended up becoming a lesbian, ironically enough. But their relationship worked for a long time, and they had kids.
Yeah.
And they're actually still friends. Which I think speaks to the fact that their relationship at a level other than the romantical still works.
Yeah, like they still have that connection.
So whatever.
Yeah, no, there's no one way or the other. I think it can change too throughout the relationship. Probably, there would be periods where one is more dominant or submissive or whatever. Yeah, and like you said, personality I think comes into play too. Like if you're a more passive person, I think you're probably going to be. Probably not the dominant one, not the man in the relationship.
And you're even going to want someone who's a little more forceful.
Right.
So that way they can kind of balance you out.
Yes. Yeah.
That kind of thing. I like the fact that my girlfriend stands up to me and tells me to go fuck myself.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no. And she's like, go do it now, you bastard. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Gotta get every now and again. Jarek Lago asks again, how did he come out? Because for me, I was born gay. Haha. I never really came out. I was just like this. My family accepted and loved me right away. But how about him?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I didn't get any hate or anything for it. I think, what was the question again? I'm spacing out.
How did you come out?
How did I come out? What was the second part, though?
He was born gay, never really came out. It was just part of who he was from day one. Mm-hmm. And his family accepted and loved him right away. How about you?
I mean, so I came out kind of slowly. Like, I first told Christina when I was 13. I think it was, and that's when I told her I was bisexual. And then over the next year, I'd say I probably told like most of the rest of my friends. My sister mom found out by then. I had my first boyfriend, so that it was pretty much all out there. And then over time it kind of just, people would find out either through my friends and family or, they would see what was happening in my life and see that I had a boyfriend. A lot of the time I didn't have to tell people. They just found out, through the grapevine. But, it was pretty quick. Like I didn't really take very long to just kind of put it all out there because I didn't want to like have to keep, every few months be like, oh yeah, I'm gay. Oh yeah, I'm gay.
Oh, by the way.
just get it all out to everybody that I know, and then they all know.
Well, I think you get to the point where you're just kind of like, what, you didn't know?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I've been going around telling everybody for the last year, you didn't know?
Yeah.
Maybe you should come out of your hole.
Yeah.
Let's see, and that was the last of the questions that people posted. There's something I wanted to bring up, though, and I'm hitting you with this off the cuff, because it occurred to me as we were talking.
For sure.
You've struggled with anxiety and I think depression at times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How has that been affected or affected your life, you being who you are, things like that?
I mean, as far as being gay goes, like, I think when I was younger, it was definitely the cause of some of my anxiety and depression. Anxiety as far as, coming out and telling people. And I mean, even to this day, like, I'm not anxious about it, I wouldn't say, but I'm still a little wary. I still kind of, depending on who it is, I'll pick and choose who gets to know that I'm gay, because if I can, if I heard them say something, or I can just kind of tell that they might not be the most accepting person, I'm probably not going to tell them that. Depression wise, I think, I don't know if it's, I wouldn't say it's the cause, of course, like, because, years later now, I've been out for 12 years now, and I still, have depression episodes. I think it, I don't know, it wasn't too much, it wasn't too much of a cause. It was definitely something that, had me down and out for a couple years when I first figured it out, because, I didn't want to be gay. I wanted to try to be straight. I didn't, know what it meant, so I was scared of it. I mean, it wasn't the main cause of my depression, but it was definitely, it affected it. Yeah.
What were some of the things that you do to deal with that?
I mean, usually kind of just, probably not the healthiest way, but just kind of, I wouldn't say ignore it, but just kind of like push it off to the side. I wouldn't address it immediately. I would take my time, probably too much time with things. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely better now. It's not something that, I don't wish I was straight anymore. I'm definitely totally cool with being gay. It's not something that bothers me anymore. So
moving forward, what do you think you got ahead for you? You got a young relationship starting,
yeah,
with a nice guy,
yeah,
somebody who I approve of.
Yes.
For the most part, I still gotta figure part of him out, but he seems to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
Do you see that going pretty well, or are you just kind of taking it day by day, or?
I mean, day by day right now, because it is very new for both of us. I don't know the future, of course, but I think it'll work out, and I think we'll be together for a good little while. Yeah, I mean, I see myself. I really want to, help people out, especially in the gay community, with this kind of thing, and I hope that some of the things that I said will help people, come out and be more comfortable with themselves, even if it's not to come out, even if it's just just for themselves to feel more okay about it.
You're in a situation a lot of gay men find themselves in from time to time, is you're in a relationship with a guy who is newly gay, who is just discovering what he wants to do with himself at a personal level. How do you deal with that? I mean, I know that you're worried about some things.
Oh yeah.
And I know that, and we talked about it, just taking it day by day and just kind of letting things fall where they may. How are you dealing with your own personal insecurities about where things could potentially go?
Yeah. So I mean, it's I think before we got together, we talked for a couple weeks about, him experimenting, trying things out. I had told him that I had feelings for him, and initially he, told me that he couldn't do it because he's straight. And then, over the 2 or 3 weeks that we talked about it, he gradually, told me that he had feelings and he had considered it, and then we're at the point that we're at now. But yeah, I mean, I still have concerns. Like, we had talked recently about him still having, of course, still being attracted to women, because he's not gay. He'd be bisexual, I guess he would consider himself. But yeah, I mean, it kind of worries me just because since it is so new to him and it's still fresh, like, how long? Like, is it just like a phase? Is it just going to be something that he, tries out and, even though he might like it, isn't something that he wants to pursue full term or something, for a long time. But I mean, just day by day, just talk about it. I keep open communication, whatever he's thinking, whatever I'm thinking, we say it, and just address it as it comes.
Yeah, communication's key in every relationship. Yeah, you're straight.
Yes,
that's the way that goes.
100%.
Professional or personal relationships.
Yeah,
you got to put the thoughts in words. You got to put the thoughts in words and get it all out there. Are you at all active in the gay community, talking to other young kids that might be struggling through dealing with their emotions as they come to grips with all of it and try to come out of the closet?
I'm not active in the sense that, like, I'm not like an activist. I'm not out there, trying to, going to like all these parades and events and everything. I mean, if anybody were to come to me, I would 100% absolutely help them through it and, give them my advice and my experiences. I'm not too involved with the gay community, in terms of, being part of, pride events or, gay clubs or anything like that. But, I mean, if an opportunity were to arise for me to help kids or, talk to people about it, like, I would totally be into it.
So your Twitter handle's down there on the screen, buddy. I got a feeling you're going to get blown up by some people.
Yeah.
For no other reason, just tell them
I hope so.
How awesome you are and how cool it is that you came on here and talked about this.
Yeah,
more questions, absolutely. Especially if he's was it top bottom verse?
Yeah, more like that, please. Yeah.
See, gay people can be perverted in mine too.
Yeah.
Well, listen, that's what I got today. So share the video around, like it, put some questions down in the comments. If you have anything else you want to ask me or Jake, those are our Twitter handles at the bottom of the screen, or you can comment. And let us know what you guys think. I know the lighting's a little bit off for this video. I worked on it, but Jacob's white as rice on a snowflake, so I had to mess with the lighting a little bit just so he didn't look like some glowing thing on the side of your screen.
Yeah.
But trust me, he is a really good-looking man. And if I were gay, oh yeah, I'd be all over that. But anyway, that's our show for today. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for coming out, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you.